Welcome back to Truth or Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran of OEF and OIF. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I have seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. These conversations can get raw, they can get heavy, and sometimes they may not be suitable for children, so consider this your disclaimer. But if you care about truth, justice, and accountability, then you're in the right.
What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good Monday night. Hopefully no storms is bothering anyone. I know where I live in Alabama, we had a few storms come through earlier. Hey, Blessed, how are you? It seems like you haven't been here in a while. Hey, Nancy. Miranda. Oh, you have? So, a lot to talk about tonight. Definitely going to be discussing Walker County, Alabama, and Sheriff Nick Smith there due to a few things, but mainly USA Today did an interview with him. And of course, that idiot agreed to an interview, which is, he doesn't understand it. Because every time he opens his mouth, he shows us who he really is. Hey, Deb. But we're going to talk about that. And I put out a short podcast earlier today on that, if you haven't caught that yet. And some really horrible news out of Enterprise, Alabama, regarding a missing child that's been missing for over a month now. And it was released today that they have taken his mother into custody and are now looking for a body. So very horrible. But we'll talk about that some. What else? I know there's some more. You can find my podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then YouTube and Rumble. And it's under Agent D Baker, just like my TikTok. The name of the podcast is Truth Recon, but you can find it under Agent D Baker. Let me see what else there was. So another thing that we'll talk about is a situation that I just found out about today. And it's about a current Alabama prisoner that is set to be put to death on the 12th. And we'll talk about that. A lot of people are calling for Governor Ivey in Alabama to pardon his execution. And I do agree with that. However, I do think he should still stay in prison. And I'll explain all of that, and we'll talk about that as well. When did I serve in the Army? I never served in the Army. I was in the Navy. So that's another thing that we'll discuss. And if there's anything else that anyone wants to discuss, just throw that out there, and we should have time. Hey, Sienna. But I served in the Navy from 2004 to 2014. What are my thoughts on war? Like war in general? I mean, I don't like war. A Pennsylvania State Trooper. Oh, no, I didn't see that. No, I haven't seen that. That sucks. The one going on now, I mean, I agree with what we're doing as long as it stays the way that we're doing it. More propaganda on that as well. Let's talk about that right quick, because this is the worst one that I've seen. Because this is going around, and I'm sure some of you have seen it. And I want to make sure everyone understands that this is not even close to being true. It's the most ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous one I've seen so far. But it is making its rounds and being shared by a decent amount of people. But if you've seen the one where it says Iran has captured 163 Delta Force operators, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. First off, the picture that they're sending around with it is definitely not a picture of Tier 1 operators. Not even close. Second, the chances of there ever being 163 Delta Force operators on the same operation are zero. Zero. It's classified as to exactly how many active Delta Force operators there are right now, but I would guarantee you it's less than 400. So for someone to think 163 of them were captured is ridiculous on so many levels. And mainly also 163 Tier 1 operators getting captured would never happen. Ever. It's not like those guys just, okay, you got me. They're not just going to give up. It's ridiculous. But I've seen it being shared quite a bit. Don't believe that hogwash. Absolutely zero truth to that. None. And I said it the other day. There's going to be a lot more propaganda put out by Iran. Don't believe it. And still people are sharing this mess. Even if they did capture some Delta Force members, they wouldn't know they were Delta Force. These guys are not walking around in a uniform. Anyway, we'll move on for that. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that's hogwash. just like the picture I showed the other night of where they took out one of our aircraft carriers. And the picture was literally the video was literally from a video game. And people were believing it. Yeah, that's a lot of Delta. Again, you're not going to have 160 something Delta operators in one place. Just like you're not going to have 160 something DevGru, which is SEAL Team 6, in one place. It's ridiculous. And all right, so you want to talk about Nick Smith first? And make sure at some point you go and watch the full interview that he did with USA Today. Actually, let's go through that whole thing. I think that's a good idea. It's not the longest interview by any means, so let's just go through the whole thing. Let me see. I think I've got it. Yeah, it's 8 minutes. So let's just walk through it.
In the tiny rural town of Jasper in Walker County, Alabama, federal investigators have spent the last 3 years piecing together what happened to Anthony Tony Mitchell in a bare cement cell over 2 weeks in January 2023.
No sheriff anywhere in the United States, Alabama, wants to see anybody pass away in a jail, whether it's natural causes, whether it's something different. Nobody wants to see that.
On January 12th, 2023, 33-year-old Tony Mitchell.
And for those of you who've been following this and following me, what does he mean in the jail? Because according to him and his great-great-grandpa Burns, remember, he didn't die in the jail. He died in the hospital, which is not true.
Appeared at the doorway of his cousin Steve's home, ranting about portals to heaven and hell. Steve called 911, and an operator dispatched the Walker County Sheriff's Office. Deputies found Mitchell bedraggled and incoherent, his face spray-painted black. Prosecutors later alleged he fired a weapon at officers. He was arrested and taken to the Walker County Jail. For Mitchell's family, the arrest was shocking.
My mom calls me and it's like, she's like, Stevie called the police because Tony had walked over there and he wasn't in his right mind. And we were all obviously like distraught when it first happened. And then we're like, okay, he's in jail. this has to be rock bottom, right? There was a sense of relief of like, okay, he's safe.
Like so many young men and women in Appalachia, Tony Mitchell had fallen into drug abuse. The young man who'd once been a class clown and a basketball player had become increasingly unstable. But the family were told Tony would be safe inside the jail, but he wasn't.
I get a call from my mom. She's like, I'm headed to the hospital because I think Tony's dead.
The neglect and abuse that Mitchell was subjected to over the next 2 weeks in jail has been laid out in more than a dozen plea agreements signed by jail employees and medical contractors.
Hey, can TikTok and Facebook, can y'all hear that good? YouTube apparently can't, but I've got it turned up, I think, as high as I can turn it up. So I just want to wonder if it's just a YouTube thing. Yeah, I apologize, YouTube. Everybody else can hear it good. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so low on y'all's part. I'll try that and see if that helps at all. Hopefully it does.
Indeed, almost half the entire staff of the Walker County Jail who were working at the time of Mitchell's death has been indicted in the federal investigation, which is still ongoing.
It is absolutely sickening, and to use language from my own tradition, it's sinful.
Pastor Ryan Cagle is a local activist who's fought to keep Mitchell's story alive and has led protests seeking justice for him.
It needs to be called out and it needs to be taken care of because we all have to live here, and Tony could have been any number of people in this community.
The undisputed highest law of the land in Walker County is Sheriff Nick Smith. First elected in 2018, Smith's office sits just upstairs from the bare cell, known as BK5, where Tony Mitchell froze to death. He invited USA Today to tour his jail.
I didn't think when I started this story that he'd ever let us come in and film here and actually see where this happened. I mean, the number of times I've watched the videos of what happened, presumably just through those doors, it's pretty weird feeling.
You raised the Sally Port.
Now, for those of you who are not familiar with this, that is Sheriff Nick Smith.
This is where it took place right here, right? This is where the
video that's
the
leaked
video
out
where
to
he's
the public.
where it was leaked, yeah.
Now, first off, catch that. He said, yeah, the video that was leaked out. And again, for those that are not familiar, that's the only reason any of this came to light. Because an employee in the jail leaked the video. And when Nick Smith and his chief deputy found out, and some other employees there found out that the video had been leaked, they literally went and got a search warrant signed, lied on the affidavit for the search warrant to the judge. She signed it under false pretenses. And then they went to random citizens, complete citizens in the county, trying to seize their personal cell phones because they were told that the video was sent to some of these people. Now, luckily, those citizens was like, no, you have no right to my cell phone. That's how bad they tried, how hard they tried to keep that video from getting out. Because they had already, and some of the employees, when first questioned by the FBI, said none of the video was working that day, that the cameras were down. So, yes, if it had not been leaked, we would not know about any of this. They would have covered everything up. And that's why he said it like that. Because he's still mad about it. Watch his body language. You can just see.
This is where it took place right here, right? This is where the
video that's
the
leaked
video
out
where
to
he's,
the
yeah,
public.
where it was leaked. Yeah, it was right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He slaps his hand down on the video that was leaked out to the public. That got him, and he knows it.
Okay. And kind of similar time of year, right? I mean, it was
Took
I
that
think
deep
January,
breath.
February, right?
Mid-January. The difference between this case and a lot of these other cases under other sheriffs is the fact that we had video cameras in this jail that the other sheriffs didn't. Outside agencies worked this investigation, and outside agencies didn't work these other investigations.
Tony Mitchell.
I want to know what case where someone lost their life inside a county jail in Alabama and an outside agency didn't work the investigation. Because I have never heard of that, ever, with any agency in this state. I think he's full of shit on that. And again, he's acting like he called these people and said, "Oh, hey, we had this in the jail." No, in the beginning, they were standing by that he didn't lose his life in the jail because he wasn't ruled dead until he was at the hospital. So they kept standing by, "Oh, no, he was alive when he left here." That's what they said. They said he walked himself to the car in the Sally Port. And now he's acting like that he called the authorities, the feds, and the state. That's not true at all. The video was leaked out, and that brought them in.
I would say, as an objective observer, was treated really, really badly. Do you think, is that fair to say?
Now, it's easy to make that determination.
He won't say it. This is him. This is the real Nick Smith. He will not. That man, and we know now by tons of testimony and video, he was literally tortured for almost 2 weeks. Tortured. And then they froze him to death. Froze him to death. He won't say he was treated badly.
Now, it's easy to make.
Really, really badly. Do you think, is that fair to say?
Now, it's easy to make that determination that you're saying when you're spoon-fed every day a handful of videos.
Well, but there's
I don't even know
also-
what he's talking about there.
There's the documentation. Right? I mean, these people have signed, they've written detailed plea deals in which they detail all the things that happened, like on a day-to-day basis, like this happened. They've expressed remorse, they've expressed regret. I mean, it seems like a pretty, objective thing that there was mistreatment going.
You know,
He won't say it.
and again, like I told you, I won't even really comment on the fact of people who have pled to things because of just my experiences with the justice system.
I just feel like we should just acknowledge that something bad did happen.
There's something happened that required change.
He won't say it. It's blowing my mind. No matter what, he won't say, he will not even admit something bad happened. He said, something happened that required change. The problem is there's been no change.
So in 2019, when I got elected, we started with getting the jail to code. Once we got the jail up to code, I started pushing for 24/7 medical then. Because of budget constraints and things at the commission office, the only place that I could get them.
And I want you to pick up on this. He's trying to blame a big part of this on medical. The problem is medical was there. And the corrections officers would not allow medical in the room to even give him aid for days. Medical was there.
Was 16 hours a day. So, I have documented proof of a lot of things that I asked for way before this ever happened. So this is our booking area and then our lockdown dorm. So where it's green, there's someone in those cells. So it monitors the heart rate and respiratory rate. So if they were to quit breathing or there be an abnormal, something.
And also, notice this. He has those cameras literally in his office. But according to him, he has no idea what happened in the jail during that 2 weeks. No idea. He didn't know any of it was going on.
An abnormal with that, it would set off an alarm. My goal is to try to get those health monitors through the entirety of the jail.
Smith's arguments aren't sufficient for critics like Pastor Ryan.
I think the improvements that have been made with like the monitoring systems and all those things are wonderful and great, but the same thing I told him to his face when he announced they were going to do that. I was like, well, what happens when one of your employees decides to ignore that system? Those things that have been put in place are not in themselves a solution to the problem, because the issue is not because there wasn't the right equipment.
Very well
said. The issue was
said.
because there's a culture of abuse and harm. I didn't know Tony personally at all. But to me, I don't understand people seeing this issue and seeing what's going on and thinking they shouldn't speak up. Here we are 3 years later and he's still in power. He's still spouting the same stuff. He's still talking about being persecuted. He's still running for sheriff again.
He's the victim.
Concerned about being charged yourself at some point?
I don't believe that to be the case, and if,
He does too. He says it with his body language. He absolutely is afraid he's going to be, or knows he's going to be.
I think that I've tried to do things the right way. As long as I'm sheriff, I can't speak for the sheriffs after me and so forth, and I would assume that if they've watched what I've gone through, that cell will never be used again.
If they've watched what I've gone through, you're not the victim here. Tony Mitchell is the victim. The guy that was tortured for almost 2 weeks in your jail and then frozen to death. And he says, if they've watched what I've gone through. And it's like he's blaming this on the cell. Again, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. It's not the cell didn't do it. It'll never be used again. Like the cell did something.
It's just going to be used as storage.
Blows
As
my
he
mind.
says here, right? No inmate to be placed in this cell. Yeah.
I try to do the right things, and I try to do the right steps. I'll be the first to tell anybody I'm not perfect. My heart goes out to them and their family.
And he says that a lot. I'm not perfect. Yet, never, and I challenge anyone to ever find any place where he stated or wrote that he has made a mistake. It's never happened. He does think he's perfect. He has never, ever accepted any responsibility for anything that's happened, ever. The blame's on everybody else.
Obviously, nobody should have to go through what they have gone through. But, I still believe in the process, and I do think that if we're really looking for transparency and accountability, that's what this is.
He was, someone's brother, someone's son. Like, he was someone's friend. He was a person, and like, that's enough. He actually doesn't have to have any relation to anyone to matter. He was a human being.
Just every time that man speaks, he pisses me off more and more. I zero remorse. Will not even admit something bad happened to Tony Mitchell. Now, that's not all of it, because they didn't air the entire interview they did with him. And I'm going to show you that. The article where he is quoted. Or where I'll show you a snippet of it at least. Let me see where it is. This is, and this is what the main thing I was talking about on the podcast to put out earlier today on this. While being interviewed by USA Today, he made the craziest statement I've ever in my life heard a law enforcement leader, especially a sheriff, say. Him trying to blame everything on someone else. He didn't even realize what he was saying. Because this is crazy. Absolutely nuts what he says. And let me get the full context before we talk about that specific quote. All right, here it is. It says Smith faults the county's hiring process for some of his employees' behavior. Whenever he has a job opening, he gets, and this is all per Nick Smith, he gets a list of the 3 people who have scored highest on a civil service test and says he has no choice but to hire one of them, whether he thinks they're fit for the job or not. That is the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. But the fact you have a current sheriff admitting that he hires people in law enforcement that are not fit to be in law enforcement, is that in itself should be enough for them to get him impeached tomorrow. Think about how crazy that statement is. It's crazy. And then that brings us to his quote. And this is a quote from Nick Smith. Let's say I know that this guy is an alcoholic, and I know that this guy beats his wife on Sundays just because it's a small town. And this guy has a drug problem, but he ain't never been arrested. And he studied enough to pass his test. I could know those things, but I gotta hire one of these 3. When I first read that, my mouth dropped open and I sat here just staring at the wall for about 5 minutes in disbelief. And I'm not exaggerating. I could not, I still can't believe that a sheriff is saying that. Because no, that is not what you do. Ever, under any circumstance, if you know someone is not fit for law enforcement, you don't hire them and give them the authority, give them a uniform, a badge, and a firearm that allows them to go and literally take someone's freedom away from them. Again, out of all the things this man has ever said, this is the craziest I've ever seen. Not even close to anything else. Let me read that one more time. Let's say I know that this guy is an alcoholic. And I know that this guy beats his wife on Sunday. Just because it's a small town. I know everybody. That's what he's saying. And I know that this guy has a drug problem, but he ain't never been arrested. And he studied enough to pass his test. I could know those things, but I got to hire one of these 3. I truthfully don't even know exactly what to say to that. And I've put a lot of thought into it in the last 2 days. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never heard anyone in law enforcement make a statement like this. Like it's a fucking, excuse my language, but it's like it's a fucking telemarketer job that he's hiring somebody for. No. This is a job in law enforcement where you give someone a badge and a firearm and allow them to go around and literally take people's freedom away from them. Things that could alter their life forever. This shows you how serious he takes this. Not at all. This is nothing to him. He doesn't think about it like that. He doesn't look at law enforcement like that. Why? Because he's never been on the other end of it. This is full proof that an arrest of anyone is not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Going and taking someone from their home, putting them in handcuffs, putting them in the back of a car with locked doors and rolled up windows, and transporting them to a jail cell with bars, taking away all their freedom, it's not a big deal. So I'll just hire anybody. I mean, well, Tina said being an alcoholic is not breaking the law, but can lead to a DUI. Being an alcoholic is one of the most dangerous person that's out walking around. And I'm sure there's plenty of people in here that can attest to that. There's not much more scary to me than an alcoholic being in law enforcement. Not. And that's the least of these three problems that he stated. Think about that. Wow. Yeah, it's like he's hiring a Walmart greeter. Again, it's not a big deal to him. And I've set officers down before and had that conversation when I start seeing them lose touch with reality and stop fully grasping of how serious it is to arrest someone, because sometimes they do, because it becomes so common to them and so monotonous, they start losing touch with that. And that's a very dangerous thing to happen. And those people have to have good leaders to pull them to the side and slap that back into them. Not literally, but you know what I'm saying. And explain it. Hey, this is just because you do this every day, this is a really big deal to every single person you ever put in jail. To most people, it's the worst day of their life. And Nick Smith to just hire anybody. They may beat their wife, but I mean, I got to hire somebody. I got to have a body. No. That is not how it works in law enforcement, nor should it ever. Laura said, I didn't know about the case, so I had to go look it up. I'm in tears for the suffering he went through and so angry for what the family is being put through. Yeah, no, I mean, it's horrible. He was, again, there's no other way to say, he was literally tortured for almost 2 weeks. No food, no water, no clothing, and then froze to death. We don't treat terrorists like that. It blows my mind. Oh, he's been invited on my podcast. And he wanted me to come there and sit down privately, go in a private place with him. I'm not that freaking stupid. But anyway, let's move on. So he's saying this, and he's blaming his bad hires on the Civil Service Board, which, again, that's BS. And then at the same time, just a few weeks ago, Deputy James Matt Hanley, which I can't remember if we've talked about him on the live before. I thought I had his picture, but I guess I don't. Who had been federally indicted for being part of the torture of Tony Mitchell, for excessive force on him. And he admitted to it. And then he lied to a federal grand jury about that case. And he was federally indicted on those things. Now, this is speculation, but I'm guessing because I know how the federal system works. He was then given a great plea deal. I mean, a gravy plea deal. And I'm guessing because he agreed to tell on other people, bigger fish, and or to testify against bigger fish. It's the only reason he got this sweet plea deal. There's no way around it. So Hanley's plea deal was that he just has to go, I think, 1 year without getting in any trouble, without violating his terms of release, and his charges will be dropped. And part of his terms are he had to give up his APOS certification, which is the Alabama Peace Officers and Standards and Training Commission, which is the certification you have to be a law enforcement officer and enforce the laws in the state of Alabama. He had to give up that certification, and he could never attempt to get a job in law enforcement, whether it be local, state, federal, or anything, again, ever. Well, Nick Smith, just a few weeks ago, allowed him to come back to work for the Walker County Sheriff's Office. Now, remember, this man admitted that he used excessive force and violated someone's civil rights and lied to a federal grand jury about it all. And Nick Smith let him come back to work in a uniform, with a badge, and with a firearm. And thought it was okay because he stuck him in the courthouse as courthouse security. Well, there's major issues here with that. Number one, I don't know how the hell that didn't violate Hanley's release already. Which I'm guessing that's why he had to resign, because he did just a few days ago end up resigning. I don't know how it didn't violate it by him going back to work. But this is Nick Smith's words. on Hanley. Let's see, that's the first. Let me pull the first page up. And I think we read this the other night on one of the lives, but we'll go over it again right quick for those that weren't on. And this is, you see the date, February 23rd, 2026, so just a few weeks ago. And this is a letter that Nick Smith wrote to the chairman of the Civil Service Board. This is written in response to your letter dated February 19th, 2026. Since you have a copy of my letter reducing Mr. Hanley's pay, I'm sure that you see in the letter where I made that decision as a disciplinary action towards Mr. Hanley. This is clearly stated in the letter. So, he allowed Hanley to come back to work because he disciplined him by reducing his pay. A man that admitted to violating someone's civil rights by using excessive force and lied to a federal grand jury. And that was going to be his only punishment. All right, we'll get back to it. If, as you have, one assumes that Mr. Hanley is a deputy, as a deputy sheriff, is an employee of the sheriff, then pursuant to the constitutional amendment, Mr. Hanley is subject to the Civil Service Board of Walker County. Of course, whether deputies are employees is debatable, and it is my position that deputies are my alter ego. So deputies, in his mind, and technically it's true, deputies are his alter ego. Because technically a deputy is sworn in by a sheriff to act in their name, to enforce the laws in their name and under their authority. So he's saying they're part of they're considered his alter egos, but then he refuses to take any responsibility for anything his deputies ever do. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't. Notwithstanding accepting your assumption for the sake of discussion that Mr. Hanley is an employee and thus subject to the Civil Service Board does not change the fact that I, as Sheriff of Walker County, am not. As such, as Sheriff, I owe the Civil Service Board no explanation as to the basis for my disciplinary decisions related to my employees, and the Civil Service Board has no say regarding the decisions that I make as sheriff. You know who he does owe explanations to? You, the citizens of Walker County, which would include the Civil Service Board. One would think that the Civil Service Board is familiar with its own rules. If this were true, the board should understand that it has no authority to act regarding Mr. Hanley. Moreover, as Sheriff of Walker County, it is not my intent, responsibility, or desire to tell the Civil Service Board how to classify an employee. Indeed, the Civil Service Board has never sought out my thoughts on these types of matters in the past and has seemingly had no problems accomplishing whatever task it and the County Commission desired to serve their purpose without my input acting as Sheriff of Walker County. That being said, you state in your letter that the Civil Service Board has Mr. Hanley classified as a deputy sheriff. I have not made any request that his classification be changed. So he's making it very clear that he is not changing Mr. Hanley's status as a deputy sheriff and has no plans to, even though what we've already talked about. As Sheriff of Walker County, I have not sought your permission or approval to take disciplinary actions in my authority and don't expect that I will be seeking such permission or approval in the future. As stated above, the Civil Service Board has no authority to tell me how to run the Sheriff's Department. And as Sheriff, I certainly am not obliged to share with you my thoughts regarding possible future actions that I may decide to take. Similarly, I have not and am not asking the Civil Service Board to take any actions as it relates to my disciplinary decision. In the future, if I see that it is in the best interest of the people of Walker County that we all serve to make such a request, despite the Civil Service Board unwillingness to consult with me regarding matters involving the Sheriff's Department in the past, or to, my God, is that one long sentence? Yeah, okay. Or to try to work in a cooperative way to serve the citizens of Walker County with me and the county commission's devout effort to interfere with and dictate my running of the office of sheriff. I will nonetheless reach out to your board and make such a request. First off, Nick Smith has never done anything that is in the best interest of anyone else other than himself. That's hogwash, and I'm just noticing that entire paragraph is one sentence, and you got to break that up somewhere. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, on one hand, we have him blaming everything on the Civil Service Board. And then this letter that he wrote merely 2 weeks ago, he is the sheriff and he runs the sheriff's office, and the Civil Service Board has no say in any of that. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. So, but the main point about that is he is literally trying to blame his bad hires on the Civil Service Board while he is proving he is the one responsible by allowing Hanley to come back and wear a badge and a firearm, which, again, he has since resigned, and I'm guessing because the feds told him to, or they were probably going to violate him, which I think he already should have since he went back to work in the first place. Yes, if your county has a Civil Service Board, the deputies fall under them. That's the way it is in any county that has. Now, there are some counties that don't have a Civil Service Board, which, side note, there's no way in hell I would ever work for a sheriff's office that has no Civil Service Board. Don't do that. Please don't. But yes, they do have a say. And that's for the deputy's protection. Nick Smith is a dictator and doesn't think anyone should tell him how or what to do in anything because he knows the best for everything. And this is all prime example of that. He should be in trouble for hiring him back. And Nick Smith has I think it's two, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 2 state indictments that's awaiting further proceeding right now for hiring deputies and putting them to work when they don't have certification. And then here he was doing it again and making sure that he was clear that he was doing it again. I think a federal indictment is coming for Nick Smith, and I've said that all along, and my mind has not changed on that. I don't know when. And I think it's possible that Hanley has something to do with that, and that's probably why Nick Smith was so against letting him go. That's just speculation on my part, understand, but read between the lines. But yes, he violated his term, so I don't know why the feds didn't get him right back. Most deputies, I can't read your name, but said he hired people for deputy positions that have been fired from other law enforcement agencies. Most deputies that he hires have been let go from other law enforcement agencies for disciplinary reasons. Most. Where are the English teachers? You love the way I read letters? Does that need to be a new thing? Do I need to get on and start reading books? It seems very boring to me. The two officers who were shown arresting Tony, I was told directly by an immediate family member who had called about a young man, age 19, who was having some mental issues. Those two officers came flying onto the property yelling, "Where is he? Where is he?" acting as SWAT, and scared the family member half to death. Apparently, those two are still employed. I don't know. I can't speak to that because I don't know for sure. I'm look into that though to see. Who does or is he supposed to answer to? Yeah, I mean the sheriff's boss are his voters. So they are the voters of Walker County. That reminds me. Team, y'all are letting me fail here. I forgot to put up my little thing. Let me see. There we go. If anybody gets confused, I'm streaming on multiple platforms, so I may be responding to a chat that's on a different platform if you get confused. Aaron, you want me to start calling you and tell you a bedtime story? Yeah, they call that the chair mullet, Laura. Laura said, I always get a kick out of watching you as the wings on your chair look like you have long brown hair. Yeah, apparently a lot of people literally thought I had a mullet for a while. So we just named it the chair mullet. Let's all write in Derek in May on the vote for sheriff. Nope. Number one, I don't live in that county. Number two, you couldn't pay me enough. Let me say that it does not pay enough. I'll say that. Good night, Rhonda. I think folks in Walker County have had enough. I don't think he's going to get reelected. I really don't. The amount of people that I've spoken to, just myself, that are voters, and I know, and I don't want to seem confident about that because I don't want people to think they don't have to go vote, because you absolutely, if you live in Walker County, if you're not registered to vote, message me. We will make that happen. If you have any questions about that, make sure you're registered to vote. And then on that day, make sure you go vote. People's lives will literally depend on that. Hey, Tanya. Have lots to catch me up on. I'm sure. But yeah, let me know. Who's the best candidate for sheriff of Walker County? I have interviewed Alan Estelle, and you can find that interview on my podcast. So you can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And we are set to interview Jason Akins. So it would be between those two. I think if J.C. Poe is another one running, and I'll just say it. I don't care to say it. I think if you vote for him, you're voting for another Nick Smith. I don't think anything would change. So those are your two best options by far. And then after I interview Jason Akins, I will give my opinion of who I think is the best. I've heard a lot of really good things about both, but I've definitely heard a lot of good things about Jason Akins. And on voting right quick in Alabama, and I put out a video earlier today. If you live in Alabama, please, if you don't trust me on anything else, trust me on this. Vote for Jared Hudson for U.S. Senate. Now, as I said in the video earlier today, that was not a paid ad. I got nothing for that. I get nothing for that. No one even asked me to do that. But that's how confident I am in him, and that's how bad I know that we need Jared Hudson in D.C. and not Steve Marshall and not Barry Moore. Tons of people, and one of the biggest things, look, I'm telling you, Jared Hudson is as genuine as it gets. And if anybody tells you any different, they do not know what they're talking about. They don't. Although I highly doubt anybody could even say anything different. But with all the uproar about the Epstein files, which there should be, okay, horrible, and we need change. Jared Hudson is literally on the front lines fighting that battle right now. As he started and operates a full nonprofit on human trafficking, tackling that. And then he is currently in law enforcement as an agent, tracking down and throwing human traffickers in prison. That's what he does every day. So the fact that anyone in the state of Alabama would say, "Nah, I'm going to vote for Steve Marshall or Barry Moore," what the hell is wrong with you? Like, seriously. I would stake my own reputation on Jared Hudson. Because I know what I'm saying is true. And I know he is a very genuine person. He is a true Christian. He's not someone that calls himself a Christian and then acts a completely different way behind closed doors. And he's a true warrior. He's a Navy SEAL with numerous combat under him, deployments under him. He's a true warrior on top of everything else. But I'm telling you, vote for Jared Hudson for U.S. Senate in May, and tell all your friends and family to vote for Jared Hudson. I'm telling you, we have to get him in D.C. All right, let me see. Oh, somebody, hold on. There's a comment over here. Now, I'm not familiar with this team, or has anyone seen this? Stephen said a child was picked up in Haleyville, which is in North Alabama, in Haleyville today, in a white Tacoma, was last seen running in his underwear, hiding in and out of bushes. Prayers they find out who he got in the truck with, and he is located safe. Because I've not seen any kind of alert or anything. So, team, is anybody familiar with this? Do we know what's going on? Let me see if I can find something on it, because that's obviously very serious, and I want to talk about it if that's happening. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that's going on. There's nothing on it. Stephen, where did you see this? William said he hadn't heard about it either. So I don't know. Okay, that must have been one of those scam things that's going around on social media. I saw that, and I just wanted to make sure that wasn't going on. Yeah, thank you, Brett. Yeah, so it's definitely not a happier story, but Let me pull. My goodness, I had six different Facebooks pulled up there. It got out of control. All right. Let's see. Now, trigger warning. This is a horrible story about a small child. So, to give y'all a warning, if you don't want to listen to it, I mean, I'm not going to be like talking about details or anything like that, but it's a horrible story. So now this started on, and this is in Enterprise, Alabama, which is in South Alabama. This started on February the 16th of 26 of this year when Adrienne Reed reported that her daughter was not in her apartment on Apache Drive. Detectives later determined that the report was false, and Adrienne Reed was arrested the following day for false reporting to law enforcement authorities, a Class C felony. As investigators followed leads and reviewed evidence, it became clear that is it Genesis? I don't want to mispronounce the little girl's name. So Genesis Reed, who is 3 years old, is Adrienne's daughter. But anyway, during the investigation, they realized that Genesis had not been seen since Christmas Day. Detectives have obtained camera footage from a neighboring residence showing Adrienne walking toward the apartment complex dumpster with a rolling duffel bag at approximately 11:30 p.m. 2 days later. 2 days later, additional footage captured Adrienne returning to the dumpster area carrying, oh my God, this is horrible. Carrying toys and other items. Jesus Christ. All right. I'm not reading any more details of that right now. All right. So here, the worst news. Today, Enterprise Police announced they have formally charged Adrienne Reed with capital murder and abuse of a corpse. They have not located Genesis, but apparently they have more than enough evidence showing that she took Genesis' life. And they're still trying to locate the little girl. Man, I have a 2-year-old daughter, and that just hits home. I don't understand these evil people. I don't. Special place for that woman. Special place. Yeah, they're looking. They've got it narrowed down to a landfill. I think that's where they're searching. I was not able to go to the Anaya Blanchard trial today because I had my little girl was actually sick today and had to stay home, and I had to stay home with her. But I should be going tomorrow. As long as she's well, I will be there tomorrow, and I'll give y'all updates on that. I know some of the details from today at the trial. I know her brother testified, and that was obviously, I'm sure, very emotional. And I know a couple other people testified, but I'll give y'all a good update Wednesday night or tomorrow night on where the trial is at this point. But yeah, there's a special place for that woman. I don't understand. I mean, I like all of you. I can't even fathom that. I don't know. It's horrible. There are some evil people in this world, unfortunately. And that woman is definitely one of them to be able to do that. Let me see what else I was going to talk about. Oh, I know. Let me find it. So I want to discuss the guy that they're going to be putting to death on the 12th. Well, I thought I had it there. Hold on. Let's see. Here, I'll just go ahead and pull this article up for everybody to see at the same time on this story, and then we'll talk about it. So, and this is USA Today. It's just the first one that pulled up. So, Alabama is set to execute an inmate this week who wasn't even in the building when the murder he was convicted of took place. Charles Lee Sonny Burton, 75, is set to be executed by a controversial method using nitrogen gas on Thursday, March the 12th, for the death of Doug Battle, a customer whose life was taken during a robbery of an AutoZone in Talladega, Alabama on August 16th, 1991. Burton and 5 other men robbed the store and its customers that day, but only one of the robbers, a man named Derek DeBruce, decided to shoot Battle. Burton had already left the building and had no idea Battle had been shot. Like many other states, Alabama law allows a defendant who participated in a felony like robbery to be convicted of murder even if they didn't do it themselves. Burton was convicted under this law and sentenced to be executed. Meanwhile, DeBruce got a sentence of life in prison. Tori Battle, who was just 9 years old when DeBruce killed her father, is among those fighting for a reprieve for Burton. No one from the state has ever sat with me to explain why Alabama believes it must execute a man who did not take my father's life, said, what was her name? Tori. So, here's my thoughts and stance, and then I'll hear y'all's. Now, I'm all for the law the way it is written. All for it. Don't want it to go away. I don't think we should execute this man because the person who actually pulled the trigger was given the death penalty in the beginning, but then during an appeal, that was dropped to a life sentence because it was determined his lawyer didn't do a good job, in layman's terms. Therefore, if the man who pulled the trigger didn't get executed and wasn't set to be executed, we shouldn't be executing this guy. Now, again, I'm not saying he should get out of prison because I don't think he should. Again, I have no problems with the law. I do have problem with the man who pulled the trigger didn't get executed, but we're going to execute a man that was just an accomplice. I hope, I don't have much faith, unfortunately, but I hope Governor Ivey actually does the right thing here and stops this. It should not be happening. So, that's my thoughts. Oh, you had your first grandchild. Congratulations, Tanya. Awesome. That's awesome. They were there the same time that incident happened at Brookwood? Jesus. That's crazy. Good night, Tracy. Yeah, that's crazy, Tanya. I'm glad they're okay. Does anybody have a different outlook or stance on that? But yeah, like I said, I don't want people to misunderstand and think I'm saying I'm against that law, because I'm not. I've seen that work very good, and I'm all for it. But again, if we're not, if we didn't, and the man who pulled the trigger died of natural causes while in prison. But again, his sentence was reduced before that to just serve life. And I don't see how they can do that with him, but still want to execute this man. It's crazy. And especially you've got the victim's daughter speaking up for it as well. And they should take that into account. That should matter, for sure. Let me see if there was anything else. Was there anything else we were going to talk about? And hey, if you're new, please follow or subscribe, depending on what platform you're on. My normal lives are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Time. And on Fridays, 9 p.m. Central Time. And then if a big story comes up or something happens, something breaks, then I'll usually go live for that as well. And then you can find my full podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. So make sure you go check those out. And you can find me on everything as Agent D Baker, except Facebook, and it's just my full name, Derek, D-E-R-E-K, Baker. But I really appreciate the follows. And tell your friends and family to follow me as well, please. I just got a message on one of the platforms, and when your message starts out as "I'm not a crazy person," kind of worries me a little bit, because why do you feel the need to say that at the start? And I'm sure they're not. It's just funny, because I get that a lot, and I'm just like, why are you starting it out like that? You're gonna make me think you are. And if you're just following me on TikTok, please go follow me at least on YouTube as well, because TikTok has a bad habit of just banning me randomly. For literally me not doing anything wrong. The last time I got banned for like 3 days was they said I had nudity in my live, which all my lives are just like this tonight. So definitely no nudity. It's the craziest thing ever. I peeled it and still lost. So anyway, make sure you're following me on one of the others, because I'm always live on those as well. Anything new on Nancy Guthrie? Not that I know of. same thing I keep saying. The sheriff out there is another horrible sheriff, and he has ruined that investigation. Now, that's not to say I do think it's going to get solved. I just don't know when. But he has definitely impeded that investigation a lot. It sounds like me. I was federally indicted and state indicted, but I'm not a crazy person. I've yet to determine if you're really a crazy person or not, Tracy. Or Tanya. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. Tanya has written an amazing book. Do they have your books back, Tanya? Because I know the last time we talked about it, nobody could find them. But Tanya really has an amazing story of what she went through, and it's eye-opening and crazy as well. And has agreed to come on my podcast, but I'm still waiting. So we're gonna have to put some pressure on her. I was supposed to show y'all something regarding me being banned from TikTok. I don't know. Team, do y'all know what she's talking about? Deb said I was supposed to show them something regarding being banned from TikTok. I don't know what she's talking about. Okay, Tanya. I'm holding you to it. I'm not going to forget. Yeah, Deb, I don't know about. Oh, I know what you're talking about Brittany. Oh, yeah, we can't talk. We can't put that out yet. But at some point we will. What's my take on daddy-daughter dances in prison? I didn't know that was a thing, honestly. Is that something they do in, like, state prisons? If so, yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I didn't realize they did that anywhere. Where do they do that, Miranda? Holman has done it. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I don't know. I didn't. Do they actually get to, like, dance together and, like, in physical contact with one another? But I mean, I'm not going to say I'm against it. I do think it should depend on what the person is in prison for. I think certain charges, no, absolutely not. But also, I think there's some that I wouldn't have a problem with that as long as the child's mother didn't have an issue with it and the child was good with it. Oh, it's on Dateline Lockup. There's also a new doc called Daughters that show. The documentary is called Daughters. because I'd like to see that documentary for sure. I'm a big fan of docs. Yeah, I'll check that out. And speaking of documentaries, if you have not seen Chris Hansen's new documentary that he's put out about Roblox and the dangers involving child predators and children on Roblox, you are missing out. And if you are a parent, you need to watch the documentary. And you can find that on his network, True Blue. And you can download that app on any smart TV or Roku or anything. But it's True Blue. Download his app. And there's a bunch of good shows on there as well. Not just the documentary, but that's where you can find the documentary. But I'm telling you, if you are a parent, you need to sit down and watch that documentary. He has released the first episode of it, and I can't remember when the next episode will be released, but the first one's over an hour long, and again, you need to watch it. It is very, very eye-opening. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that, Miranda. Like I said, to me, it would depend on what they're in prison for. Like, I think any kind of violent offense, no. Especially any kind of offense involving children, then obviously no. But, you know, if they're in there on some theft charges or something like that, then I think it should be on a case-by-case basis. If the facility is willing to do it. Oh, you signed up for True Blue? Awesome, Claire. Yeah, y'all need to get on there. Again, if you're a true crime person, you need to be on True Blue anyway, because there's some really good shows on there. And because Chris Hansen is still doing the catch, he's still out running these stings on the predators. And he's got a new season out right now on that, with a new episode coming out every week. And I think there's about 8 episodes out already on that, but make sure you check that out as well. Because again, if you have children, you need to see what's going on. You need to see what these child predators are doing and how they're doing it. Yeah, they've done quite a few of those in Blount County. Yeah. Anyway, make sure you download that, and make sure you are subscribed to Chris Hansen's podcast, because I am a guest on one of his podcasts, and that episode should be, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's going to be coming out this week. But as soon as it does come out, I will announce that. But make sure you check that out because it's really good. Yeah, the Blount County Sheriff is doing well with that. I mean, he does not like child predators, and I'm for that. So, yeah, they've done a lot. They've done numerous ones in Blount County, and again, you can see them all on his show on True Blue. And so, if you live in Alabama, especially if you live anywhere around the Birmingham area, you need to watch it, because like I said, there's numerous episodes on Blount County, Alabama, and they're all recent. So you need to see some of the child predators that are literally around your area, because some of them are on that show. Alan, if you're talking about the documentary is on, it's Chris Hansen has his own network, and it's called True Blue, TRU, and then Blue. And you can download, it's an app you can download on any smart TV or, Roku, any of your devices. So you download the app and you can get all the shows on there. But that's where the documentary is, and that's where his predator catching show is. And all the new seasons and new episodes come out on that. And now his podcast is, you'll be able to find it anywhere there's podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all of those. Here, let me see. There's a couple, so you'll recognize. I'll show you what you're looking for as far as his app on his network. Yeah, it's TRUBLU. True Blue. So there's the little icon, that True Blue. So that's the app, and again, you can, that's on, just search on your apps from your TV, and you'll see that, and you just download the app right quick, and then again, all of his streaming shows are on there. And again, there's a lot of good shows on there, especially if you're into true crime stuff. That's not just his stuff. There's a lot of good shows on there, but make sure you check that out. Well, like right here, I'm seeing now, you can catch some of the full episodes you can get on YouTube right here under this True Blue streaming network on YouTube. And just subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then you can see there's some of the full episodes he puts on there. But again, he's doing the work that we need done. And he's one of the main ones and has been combating child predators for almost 30 years now. So over 20 years, I know. And he's still doing it. The amount of children he has probably saved from getting abused is, who knows? I mean, there's no telling. There's no telling. Yeah, on the True Blue on the app, there is a membership, but it's very cheap. Like, I think it's like $5 a month. So I mean, it's cheaper than the rest, like, Netflix and all the other ones. But I'm telling you, it's well worth the. Like I said, I don't know don't quote me exactly how much it is, but I want to say it's like $5. But at most it's $10 a month. But I don't think it's that much. But again, it's well worth it. And again, there's some awesome shows on there. Yeah, and his new predator catching show is called somebody just said Takedown. That's what it's called, is Takedown. Yeah, it's $4.99 a month. So $4.99 a month. Again, well worth it. Oh, and Alan, I got your text. Now I don't remember what it said. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, I would consider it. I want to do his interview first, and then we'll get together and see if that's something he'd want to do too. But yeah, I would be fine with that, for sure. And hopefully I get him in and interview him very soon, because time's creeping up on us. The election is going to be here before we know it. Yeah, I think it's about all I have for tonight. So I'm going to run because, again, I got to get up early and head to Tuskegee, Alabama, and Macon County is where the trial is. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the night. I appreciate each and every one of you for being on here. I really do. And it means a lot to me, and I appreciate everyone's support. I can't do any of this without you all, and I definitely can't do any of this without my team, and they are amazing. And even though they're behind the scenes, they do so much work. It's crazy how much work they do, and I can't thank them enough. And I hope they know how much I appreciate them. I'm not the easiest person to deal with at times. I'm sure they can tell you, but I appreciate them so much, and they work so hard and do so much. They keep everything going now, so I appreciate that. Other than that, if there's anything I can do for anybody, don't hesitate to send me a message. It probably take me a while to get to your message, but at some point I will. And if I can help you, I will. If I can, I'll tell you I can't. If you have any information on any stories, whether it's something that I'm covering or something you'd like to see me cover, don't hesitate to send me that as well. And I'll never repeat your name. Like, if you send me information, I'll never repeat your name to anyone. That stays between you and I, no matter what. I would never repeat your name to law enforcement, to no one. That's completely confidential, and I will always keep it that way. So other than that, but I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday night. Watch out for the storms if you're here in Alabama. I think there's maybe some more coming. I'm not sure, but be careful with those. And I hope you have a great Tuesday, and I will see y'all back either tomorrow night, just depending on how the trial goes, or definitely see you back Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central.
Welcome back to Truth or Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran of OEF and OIF. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I have seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. These conversations can get raw, they can get heavy, and sometimes they may not be suitable for children, so consider this your disclaimer. But if you care about truth, justice, and accountability, then you're in the right